Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. Take a look at these numbers. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.46 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 2.7. We see Bitcoin 103,000 plus, Ethereum 2,500 plus. XRP number 4 spots $2.53 after a little rally yesterday. We're off 2.6 in the 24, but we're still up 21% on the 7-day. Wowza. And looking at the range of price ranging between 243 and 261 here, remember, we could see stablecoin legislation this month within the next couple weeks even. So head on a swivel, ladies and gentlemen. A lot is happening, and we're going to cover it as fast as we can. Remember, open up your free account with Caleb and Brown today. And why would you do that? So you can start getting the best night's sleep of your life since you've been in crypto. This is so real what I'm saying to you. They have human customer service, whether it's a technical issue with your account or you want to speak to a prime broker about your market orders. Exchanges freeze up every time there's a bull run. All signs are pointing towards us having one in the near term, sometime this year even possibly. So the reality is take this moment, get signed up so you can have that human interaction in case you're worried about your assets or anything. By the way, Caleb and Brown has multiple layers of security just in place on a regular general basis. So the fact that you have all these things with no hidden spreads, no hidden fees, free institutional grade custody, you just can't beat what they're offering. And that's why we're with them. XRPwealth589.com. Open your account and start getting the best night's sleep you've ever had. It's real. 16 days until XRP Las Vegas. And guess what? We may have to stop selling VIP tickets.
Hi, I'm Bree Teresi. I'm a model and a crypto enthusiast. The excitement is building. XRP Las Vegas 2025 is almost here. Learn more about the evolution of finance and Web3 from top industry leaders. I have my ticket. Do you have yours?
Now's the time to get your ticket at XRPLasVegas.com and check out the conference agenda. Also, builders and developers will have a shot at $25,000 in prize money with the best Web3 project ideas in a Shark Tank-like pitch.
Let's go, XRP community. Lock in.
There it is. Lock in, ladies and gentlemen. XRPLasVegas.com. It's going to be incredible. We have worked so hard to bring you the best possible conference we can. And I'm telling you, it is going to blow your mind. If you've never been, make the investment in yourself and come. Look at this right here. The tide is turning. The embrace of crypto. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says his goal is to make New York City the crypto capital of the globe. Remember, back in 22, he took his salary in Bitcoin.
My goal remains the same as it was on day one as mayor, making New York City the crypto capital of the globe. And as you remember, I supported crypto long before any of my mayoral peers. I was the first American mayor to have my initial 3 paychecks converted into crypto way back in 2022. Many people laughed at me, and all I can say is, who's laughing now?
Look at the dude smiling. Look at this guy smiling. And she's trying to keep a straight face. Look, these two guys are like, you go on and tell them. They look like Bitcoin holders too. And listen to Bitwise, $12 billion Bitwise just said Bitcoin exchanges don't have enough supply to meet the high demand. Uh-oh, you know what that means.
The illiquid supply. So currently we are seeing the on-exchange balances of Bitcoin being the lowest, I think, going back to 2018. So this is like going back for many, many years now. The balances for Bitcoin on exchange have never been this low. And what that signals is that there's a lack of sellers on the market. So people will move from cold storage to exchange when they're ready to sell their Bitcoin. And if the exchanges are showing low balances, that means that we have few sellers in the market, and that will come into play and become very interesting once there is a rise and the buyers come back into the market for Bitcoin. My prediction, and of course I don't have a crystal ball and I don't know, and this isn't investment advice, but my feeling is that when it does start to move back up again, it's going to jump. Because there simply aren't any sellers, and if people are bidding and trying to buy, and there aren't sellers in the market, they're going to just keep, offering higher and higher prices to buy the Bitcoin that they want, and so I expect that it'll gap up quite significantly when it does start to rise again in the future.
And then that's when I believe you'll see the people bring their Bitcoin out of cold storage looking to take some profits, right? Meanwhile, what do we see here? And for those of you that don't know, South Korea has been one of the biggest XRP markets in the world. And I'll tell you, back in 2018, if you aren't aware, it was CoinMarketCap that removed the numbers from South Korea to make XRP go down in market cap. It was a dirty move. But here we see Whale Insider highlighting XRP leads the pack in South Korea with $1.2 billion in retail trading volume, overtaking Bitcoin and Ethereum on Upbit. So, look, I'm just showing this because I wanted to touch on that older fact that people aren't aware of. There's a lot of new people in this space. But understanding this surge here in this market is very real because the South Korean retail holders, they're very smart and they know what's going on here. And I have a sneaky suspicion you could start to see this trend spread across other exchanges, especially after legislation. Meanwhile, Matthew McDermott, global head of digital assets at Goldman Sachs. Well, listen to this.
On that point, where do you see the biggest short-term impact for blockchain in traditional finance, and what is that next wave of disruption going to look like?
Great question.
I mean, for kind of the US, I think the stablecoin bills that have gone through, the two different houses, I think, will have a pretty profound impact. Many have talked about stablecoins being the kind of killer app, but I think if the regulations allow this to be something that can be easily and efficiently adopted by financial institutions, that's something that you may see, kind of more actively used. So it accelerates the use of digital currency for the big players. And I think that, to me, is something that is super exciting and something we're obviously watching very closely. I think more broadly, there's the market kind of infrastructure bill that's kind of been focused on towards the end of the year. So kind of institutions like us, permissibility is kind of key. So that ability to, be able to potentially trade, kind of, or at least use stable coins and then touch the underlying balance sheet, have that permissibility to do that. So I think there's kind of two kind of key steps there, just the way that they're kind of the administration's sequencing it, but I think both are exciting.
There's no question about it. They both are exciting. And this is Goldman Sachs telling you that they're excited for it, right? And they see, look, he projects, now he says the market infrastructure bill, he projects it later towards the end of the year. I don't care, get it passed. But we know that the current administration and Congress are pushing to get both bills, all bills necessary to crypto, done by August before the recess. And that's important because of midterms. However, I would say, should we go longer than the midterms, I would encourage people to understand, if you look at the trade deals, the way the tariffs and the negotiations are working in favor, it could be a situation where they do take longer to get the market infrastructure bill done this year. But if they do, I don't think midterms are going to harm us, because who in the world's going to want to vote against what we've seen in the first 100 days here? Here's SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce saying tokenization cannot reach its full potential without legal clarity. Not like we didn't know, but it feels good to hear her say so.
Tokenization cannot reach its full potential without legal clarity. Issuers and transfer agents continue to be unsure about whether a crypto network can be the master security holder file or a component thereof for purposes of the Exchange Act's transfer agents rules, and even where state law has expressly provided or contemplated the use of a crypto network in connection with the maintenance of securities ownership records. Further, the Commission's special purpose broker-dealer statement, which defines crypto asset security to encompass any security, tokenized.
So there you have it right there. Look, this is good because it tells me the SEC is recognizing. By the way, we're going to hear from the new SEC chair, Paul Atkins, and we're going to hear from him. And I'll let this play, and then we'll talk here.
A key priority of my chairmanship will be to develop a rational regulatory framework for crypto asset markets that establishes clear rules of the road for issuance, custody, and trading of crypto assets, while continuing to discourage bad actors from violating the law. Clear rules of the road are necessary for investor protection against fraud, not the least to help them identify scams that do not comport with the law.
It's absolutely right. And what it tells me between Hester Peirce's comments and Paul Atkins' comments is that they understand that there is a framework, there is legislation coming for stable coins and a market infrastructure bill, which I believe will address everything from all kinds of cryptos and the different technology and innovation, as well as tax. We need to get the tax straight. And what's that going to be? Are we going to see zero cap gains for U.S. domiciled assets? Or were they just floating that as hype? We'll see. We don't know yet. But nonetheless, what we do know is that it's M&A season, merger and acquisition season. This is what we've talked about. Robinhood acquiring Canada's leading crypto trading platform, Wonderfy. And I remind everybody that Robinhood is also acquiring Bitstamp, working in conjunction with Ripple to launch a derivatives platform. Come on in. Then this is breaking news right here. Coinbase is set to join the S&P 500. Uh-oh, it's happening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a complete integration into the traditional financial system, is it not? Dom from Easy A, who will be on stage, ladies and gentlemen, and helping to run the Shark Tank pitch style event for builders to win $25,000 in prizes, has this to say. Crypto is joining the S&P 500. Coinbase's inclusion in the world's leading stock market index is an even bigger deal than you think. Here's why. Crypto now has a seat on the world stage. Huge boost to crypto's legitimacy on Wall Street, broadens crypto's investor base, makes it easier for Coinbase to raise capital, expansion, acquisitions, etc. End result? A ton of new capital will flow into crypto. This is exactly right. This is absolutely spot on right here. I tell you, it is a massive move and a signal to the world and the markets that crypto is here to stay. And we know what else, too. This is Charles Hoskinson again, very quickly going on about how we're getting ready to see those crypto wallets for billions of Google and Apple users.
Android, all Google has to do is just push an update and suddenly you have a cryptocurrency wallet stock Android, and they're the largest wallet in the world then. Or the same for Apple with iOS, and the same for Windows, building that in. So these companies is all, well, they just don't know cryptos. Are you fucking kidding me? They invented most of the technology that came behind it, and they can just easily get in. It's 6 months of tooling.
It's a push of an update, and they're in. And 3 billion people have wallets just like that. And they could put real USD in those wallets if they wanted to. Ripple making its push to be the institutional clearing and settlement stablecoin. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about something here. Twain says here, no mention of XRP. Yikes. No, not yikes. Hang in there. Of course, they're talking about the real USD being an institutional and clearing settlement stable coin. Of course. And you see, obviously, XRP Ledger here, right? And the Ethereum network where real USD is available currently. And it will be on a lot of other networks as well very soon. But the point is that with over 70 billion in payments processed in Ripple's infrastructure will support wider adoption of real USD. It's important because we know from David Schwartz that XRP has a privileged position on the XRP ledger. And if you make the real USD the de facto institutional settlement and clearing stablecoin of choice, then every time something settles, XRP gets the privileged position of possibly being the settlement option before the real USD. That's what's at stake here. And that's why the real USD is incredible, because it's going to draw more utility and liquidity to the network, giving XRP that privileged position of settlement.
But our first question is around, really what's going to be driving value to XRP, particularly kind of around the cross-border and sort of more like enterprise payments and financial use cases.
Yeah, so you guys can all see the question on the screen. I think the big thing that's gonna keep XRP like in its central role is its privilege placed on the XRP ledger. XRP is the only token that you can pay transaction fees in. It's the only token that every account can receive. The payment engine during pathfinding always looks for XRP liquidity first, and XRP is auto-bridged through the order book, so XRP liquidity is sort of preferentially taken over to other types of liquidity just from order crossing. So XRP is always going to have a special place as a sort of liquidity tool on the XRP ledger.
That's what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen, and it's super exciting. And with that being said, so is this. Look at Monix's chart here. He's looking back at 2017. He says, you know what? Trump was in back then. We had this. He's saying Trump's in now. We're looking at possibly getting this again, maybe? I like Monix. He put out some great content. You got to give him a follow. Right here, who's ready for the new digital on-chain economy? I can tell you I am, and I know all of you are too. I showed this chart yesterday, but it's basically saying here, XRP in the previous run, back in 2017, 2018, met both of its 1.272 and 1.618 Fibonacci levels in the prior cycle. This cycle, 1.272 and 1.618 would give us the targets in this range. And here's the bubble so you can see, $8.44 and $27 plus. All of this aligns with what we've seen from Dark Defender, what we've seen from XRP-Crypto certainly, Crypto Bull 2020, and so many others. Are we to think that they're all wrong? That they've been seeing something for years on these charts and they're all wrong, but they keep telling us that it's there? You know, I happen to believe it is the fundamental news of passing legislation in the United States of America that will become the catalyst to set this market and XRP free. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.